Hello students. Student, in the previous lecture just we have discussed the exercise 2.1 of this chapter, inverse trigonometric function. In this chapter, student, basically we have just started the basic type of properties related to the inverse trigonometric function. So we will proceed the next property one by one. We have to see each and every kind of property. So before that, I think the question of the exercise of 2.1 is to be get clear to each and every student, because in this exercise 2.1 just we have to use the only one property, and that should be related as, you can say that sine inverse of sine x, cos inverse of cos x, tan inverse of tan x. Like this we have to discuss the many more properties, and according to the particular principal value and domain we have to discuss the each and every property. Is it to be clear? So these kind of properties, student, are to be very important, but we have to keep in mind the principal value and domain of each and every trigonometric function. So in the previous lecture just we have discussed the basic properties. So property first already we have to just discuss in the last lecture, where what we are saying that the sine inverse of sine x, sine of inverse of sine x will become the value of x, but this will give the value of x when this particular x will belongs to the principal value of this particular inverse of sine, and you know very well the principal of sine inverse will be from closed interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. Then in this type of situation we will say that the answer is to be obtained as x. Is it to be clear? Now students, suppose we have to draw the graph of this property. Today just we are discussing the basic graph of these type of functions like sine inverse of sine x in this interval, and many more intervals we will take, and according to that we have to just draw the graph. And three important graphs just we will discuss here: sine inverse of sine x, cos inverse of cos x, as well as the tan inverse of tan x. On behalf of these three graphs, you can just make the graph of cot inverse of cot x, sec inverse of sec x, and cosec inverse of cosec x. There should be no problem. But some of the questions are to be there which are to be definitely solved by using these type of graphs, and these graphs are to be not given in your NCERT. But student, to learn the concept of inverse, basically we have to just know about these type of basic graphs. That's why I am just drawing the graph, and a very simple theory is to be used to draw the graph, and easily you can just able to the concept of this particular graph theory, because the graph is the very important part for our calculus also, where some time such type of functions are to be already there in the calculus when we have to do the differentiation integration. Then how the particular things are to be get simplified, we have to see this thing, but we will just simplify the things if we have to know the basic type of graph of these functions. Is it to be clear? So you know very well about this part. Today just we have to draw the graph of this function, graph of sine inverse of sine x. Just we will draw the graph of this particular function, sine inverse of sine x. Now to draw the graph, student, basically you know very well about this interval minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. This particular function will provide the as output value as x. Suppose this particular function is to be taken as fx, then you can say that fx is to be given as sine inverse of sine x. Is it to be clear? And you can say that this particular function will give the answer x when we have to take the interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. Is it to be clear? Now suppose any other intervals we are taking here and suppose we will draw the graph here. A very simple and basic graph is to be there of this sine inverse of sine x. So you can say that for this interval, suppose this particular value is minus pi by 2 and this particular value is said to be the pi by 2. Is it to be clear? Now in this particular interval, and here the particular function range of this particular function is to be also available from pi by 2 to minus of pi by 2. So we will draw the graph y equals to x like this. This is the graph of y equals to x. So definitely this graph is to be available in this interval minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So this graph you can say that y equals to x, because here this fx will be considered as y, then you will obtain the answer of this particular part as x in this given interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. And I think the straight line graph is to be there, and easily you can just make the graph of y equals to x. This is the line passes through the origin, and in which interval we have to draw the graph? Basically we will draw the graph in this interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. Next we will take the, suppose here the pi will be there and here 3 pi by 2 we will take here. Now what should be the graph of this function in this interval pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2? So again Again we will simplify this thing. Suppose we will take this particular x from pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. Suppose we are taking the interval like this, and here we will take the interval pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. Then what will happen? So basically student, in this particular kind of interval the principal range does not satisfy, so we will not get the inverse in this such type of intervals, but you can just simplify the things. Student, this is an inequality, and I think in class 11 already you have just discussed about the inequality case, where this inequality suppose is to be get multiplied with the negative sign. Suppose this whole inequality is to be get multiplied with negative sign, then the sign of inequality will get changes. Is it to be clear? So you can just write down this thing in this way. Here minus 3 pi by 2 you can write here, here minus x you can write here, and here you can write minus of pi by 2. Is it to be clear? So basically in this part, if we have to just multiply this inequality with the negative sign, then whole this process will be get changes. If we will just change this part, then there should be no changes, you can see here. But here you can check this x is greater than pi by 2, and here you can check x is less than minus pi by 2. So the if any negative number is to be get multiplied with any kind of inequality, then the sign will be automatically changed. So basically now we will just make the interval like minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, then we can write down the answer. So we will just add the pi here, means this pi is to be added both side. So pi minus 3 pi by 2, here you can write here pi minus x, here equal to sign is also to be there, and here you can say that pi minus pi by 2. So we have to just add the pi, we have to just add the pi. Why this pi is to be added? Because pi minus 3 pi by 2 will become minus of pi by 2, and you can say that this will become pi minus x, and here you can say that this is said to be pi by 2. So again you can see the principal interval like minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. So now you can draw the graph, now you can draw the graph. So now in this interval the answer should be written as pi minus x, not x. In this particular interval you can obtain the answer of this particular function as pi minus x. So a very basic calculation is to be there. If we have to know about this type of process, then definitely student you can understand the thing. We are taking this interval, suppose many more intervals we will take here, but we will take the intervals, then according to the given interval we have to make this particular x in this principal value minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. For this part sometime we have to just multiply with the negative sign, somewhere we have to just add the some pi, subtract pi, each and everything we will just discuss here, but we have to keep in mind the concept. Now now the graph we will make here. So this is the graph y equals to pi minus x, and in this interval minus pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. So definitely student the graph should be like this. This is again a straight line, this is again a straight line, and you can just say that this graph is to be from pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. So this line can be written as pi minus x. Is that to be clear? So a very basic graph is to be there. This particular line will passes through the point pi comma 0 here. So this is written as y equals to pi minus x. Similarly the next interval you can take here. Suppose the next interval we are taking from 3 pi by 2 to you can take here 5 pi by 2. Next interval we are taking here. Is that to be clear? And now again we have to make this interval in this particular principal value, and for this part we have to just somewhere we have to add something, subtract something, each and everything we will just discuss here. So definitely student we will erase this part now, because we will just do the same calculation for 3 pi by 2 to 5 pi by 2. So just this part is to be get erased here. Now you can see the next interval. Let you can say that this is to be taken as 3 pi by 2 to 5 pi by 2. Now you can say that this is to be get multiplied with the negative sign first of all. So negative sign is to be get multiplied, then sign of inequality will get changes, and it will become minus 5 pi by 2. This will minus x, and here you can say that this will be taken as minus of 3 pi by 2. Now student, how this particular part will become minus pi by 2? So we have to just add the 2 pi. We have to just add the 2 pi. Is it to be clear? So if 2 pi is to be get added, then definitely you will get the answer here. I think there should be no problem, but we have to just think about which pi. In the previous case just we have to add the pi, here just we are adding the 2 pi. So 2 pi is to be get added, then 2 pi minus 5 pi by 2, and here you can say that 2 pi minus x, and here you can say that 2 pi minus 3 pi by 2. Now in this case, this part is to be get solved, then this is 4 pi minus 5, so this will become minus of pi by 2. Now you can say that this will be written as same 2 pi minus x, and here you can say just simplify this part, then 2 pi minus pi, so this will become again pi by 2. So again you have to make this interval in this principal value minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So such type of calculations regularly we are doing here, and according to that we have to just calculate the answer. Is that to be clear? So definitely student, we have to just make the graph on behalf of the given situations and on behalf of the given intervals. So if we will just think about this part, then suppose this is the 2 pi, and here next we have to take the 3 pi by 2. So the graph should be like this, means this graph will be drawn like this, a zigzag line like this we have to just make here. Now a very important concept here student, how this particular line is to be get written. So this line will passes through the point 2 pi comma 0, and now you can see that the equation of line, suppose we are writing the line, equation of line will be written as y equals to mx plus c. So here the slope of all lines will be 1, so you can say that this is said to be x plus c. Now this particular constant is to be obtained, but how? Because this particular line will passes through the point 2 pi comma 0, means we can just use here x equals to 2 pi and y equals to 0, then c will become the minus of 2 pi. So you can say that this line will be written as y equals to here x minus 2 pi. You can say that this will be written as x minus 2 pi. So easily you can just write down the equation of this line. And similarly student, in this previous part you can just draw the graph like this. This is said to be the minus pi, and here you can say that this is said to be minus 3 pi by 2, and in this section you can draw the graph like this. So such type of graph we will obtain one by one here. So this is the basic graph of sine inverse of sine x, and easily you can just describe the thing in a very systematic way, because sine inverse of sine x will give the result as the equation of line, either x, sometime it is pi minus x, sometime it is x minus 2 pi, and in this way if we have to just calculate the equation of line, then you can use the format y equal to mx plus c. So as per the NCERT student, you have to just know about this graph, because sometimes these type of graphs are to be the very important to understand the some remaining properties. Is it to be clear? So you can just write down the equation of this line as x minus 2 pi. Now a very basic and important thing, we have to just write the next interval 5 pi by 2 to 7 pi by 2. So now the graph will be like this. So if we have to write this equation, then definitely that should be passes through the 3 pi. So you can say that this will be written as 3 pi minus x directly. Or suppose we have to take the next interval 5 pi by 2 to 9 pi by 2, then definitely student you can write down the answer as x minus 4 pi like this. So in such a way you can just plot this graph for many more intervals in this side or in the previous side. Suppose in the previous side we have to take the interval minus pi by 2 to minus 3 pi by 2, and similarly minus 3 pi by 2 to, then again you will get the answer as accordingly. Is it to be clear? So definitely student, here just we want to know about this part. This is the very basic part, and how this particular type of equations are to be get written, you can just see here. Is it to be clear? So this is the basic graph of sine inverse of sine x. Now I will just solve a very important question related to this graph, and how the particular questions are to be asked. We have to keep in mind this graph always. So this graph is to be already remember, because this type of graph you can just make of sine inverse of sine x. So student, before we will take the example, you have to just note it down after pausing the video. So next part we have to see the particular example that should be related to this given graph, but before that you have to just make the graph properly and you can just understand the thing. Student, here that topic we are going in a very deep. As per NCERT we are not simplifying this part, we are going in the deep, so that the concept of this inverse trigonometric is to be get simplified. So next example we will take. So again, first of all, suppose any question, find the value of sine inverse of sine 12. Suppose this question is to be given here. Suppose we have to just calculate the value of sine inverse of sine 12. You can write anything else here, no problem. Sometimes sine inverse of sine 12, sometime you can say that this is sine inverse of sine 99, sine inverse of sine 100, sine inverse of sine 105. You can write any number here, no problem. Is it to be clear? because in this case this particular function has the domain R, so R is any case of real number, no problem. So basically these type of answers are to be generally given by this particular graph that we have to draw here. So to find the value of such type of questions, we have to just draw the graph, and easily student you can draw the graph like this, because the graph should be like this. So here you can take 0, this is pi by 2, here you can take pi, here you can take 3 pi by 2, next you can take here 2 pi, here similarly you can take 5 pi by 2, and so on. And you will write the equation of line as y equals to x here. In this case you can write y equals to pi minus x. In this line case we have to write the equation as x minus 2 pi, and here this line will be written as 3 pi. You can just see the answer. So this particular point we have to just draw some wrong, so definitely we have to make the proper diagram. So this zigzag graph, so pi by 2 pi, this point is said to be the 3 pi by 2, and this point is said to be the 2 pi. Here this 5 pi by 2 will be there, and we can make the graph. Here you can say that this 3 pi will be there. So this is the point of 3 pi by 2 and here you can write the particular equation of this line as 3 pi minus x, and similarly you can write down these points as minus pi by 2, this is minus of pi, this is minus of 3 pi by 2, this is minus of 2 pi. So this is the basic graph of this sine inverse of sine x. Is it to be clear? So always we have to keep in mind this graph as well as the similar kind of equation, so that in such kind of questions there should be no ambiguity. Generally student, these questions are to be asked in the basic competitive examination, where this graph will be very helpful for us. Otherwise you cannot simplify this particular answer directly. So here we have to just give the value 12. So basically we have to search this particular 12 on this x-axis, where this particular 12 will be lie. According to that we know very well about the equation of that curve, and according to it we will provide the answer. Is it to be clear? So here this is the graph of sine inverse of sine x. In as the per question given, the x is to be given as 12. So definitely we will we can say that this pi has the value 3.14. You know very well. So now we will search this particular 12 which will lie where on the x-axis. This thing we have to keep in mind. Suppose we have to just calculate the 2 pi, then it is to be get multiplied with 2, then it should be 6.28. You know very well. Suppose we are just calculating the 3 pi, then it is to be get multiplied with the 3, then 3 into 4 12. This is 3 and 4, and here you can say that 9.42. Similarly we can just obtain the value of 4 pi. Then 4 pi will be lie here, then it is 56 and 12.56. So here nearest 4 pi, near about the 4 pi, the value 12 will be lie. So definitely student, if we will just extend the graph here x-axis, here we will take the next point as 7 pi by 2, and here we will take the 4 pi. So definitely the graph of this particular part will be written like this. And here suppose we will just write down the equation of this line, then you can say that it is said to be the 4 pi x minus 4 pi. This is said to be the x minus 4 pi. Is it to be clear? Now you can just think about one important section. We are saying that this particular 12 is to be available near about this 4 pi, means this 4 pi will become the value 12.56. So you can say that in this particular part you will get this value 12. Is it to be clear? Because just before the 4 pi we will obtain the value 12.56. So in this way we have to search any kind of value, and this value will be lie where on the x-axis according to that. Now student, the answer will be obtained according to this particular function. So here if x is to be taken as 12, then you can just write down the answer here, y equals to x minus 4 pi, and the answer should be written as 12 minus 4 pi, because you will get the answer as 12 minus 4 pi, because in this case you will write the value of x equals to 12, because according to the question we have to take the x. Is it to be clear? Sometime this particular value is to be given as 99, sometime other any value is to be given, then we have to search in this way. We have to search the particular value in this way, and whenever it is to be found, then definitely you can write down the proper answer according to the proper graph. So basically you can also check the 7 pi by 2. So 7 into 3.14 upon 2, first of all we have to check this thing. So we can say that this this is to be divided by 2, then definitely you will get the answer as 1 point, because 2 1 is 2 and this is 5, 1.57, and it is to be get multiplied with 7, then definitely you will get the value just less than the 12. So definitely 12 will be lie in this section, and according to this value you will get the graph here, and the equation of this line will be written as y equals to x minus 4 pi. So always we have to obtain the particular graph, and now you can put the value of x equals to 12. So the answer of this particular question will be obtained as 12 minus 4 pi. So this is the answer you will get just with the help of this particular graph. That's why student I am just discussing these type of graphs, because these are the some important topics in your first property, where we have to directly learn the property as per the NCERT, but here without NCERT, suppose any question is to be coming, then we have to know this type of graphs. Is that to be clear? Now next graph we will take, student. Before that you have to take just note down the answer of this question, and you will take many more questions. You can take any value here, no problem, and you have to just search this value on x-axis, and according to that you will get the particular line, and you can put the value of x directly, you will get the answer. So some kind of objective type of questions are to be generally asked from this section. So the next graph we are taking graph of cos inverse of cos x. Next we are taking graph of cos inverse of cos x. In this similar way we have to take the graph. So definitely let this function will be taken as fx, and this fx is to be written like this, cos inverse of cos x. You can write here cos inverse of cos x. Now a very basic part you can just say about this part, because when we have to take the x value of x from 0 to pi, then the answer is to be obtained x. We have to just read this property earlier, because the principal value of this cos inverse x will be lie from 0 to pi. That's why you can say that this will be give the answer as x. Now next interval we have to take, suppose pi to 2 pi we have to take pi to 2 pi. Similarly we can take the more intervals, like you can say that 2 pi to 3 pi, and many more intervals you can take in this positive side or in this negative side also. But we have to see the some symmetry. After getting the some symmetry, you can just make the graph properly, no problem. So now suppose we have to take this fx as y, then you can just able to draw the graph here. Here this is x-axis, this is y-axis. The graph will be lie between 0 to pi, because in this section you have to draw the graph of this function, because the cos inverse has the principal value from 0 to pi. So no part is to be below the axis is to be there, because according to the principal value of the given inverse trigonometric function, we have to draw the graph. Now we have to take here the some values. So 0 to pi, so we will take here pi, then 0 to pi you will get the y equals to x. So definitely student we will make the line y equals to x, but we have to make this line from 0 to pi only, because the value of cos inverse x does not lie outside the 0 to pi. That's why we have to take this graph up to this part, not in this side. Is it to be clear? In the previous graph we have to take the interval from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. That's why the graph should be like this. Now the next you can check here. You can say that here pi by 2 is to be there, sorry 3 pi by 2 is to be there. After that we will take the 2 pi, and then after we will take the 5 pi by 2, and we will take the 3 pi, like this. So now the next interval we are taking as a pi to 2 pi. We have to take the interval pi to 2 pi. So let here you can take the interval pi to 2 pi. Again we want to just convert this interval in the principal value, and principal range of this cos inverse will be 0 to pi. So we have to make this interval from 0 to pi. Then definitely what we will do here, the basic thing is that, is it to be clear? So for this part something is to be added, something is to be get subtracted, each and everything we have to just see in a particular manner. So definitely student, if we have to make this part as 0, then definitely we have to take minus pi, here minus pi, and here minus pi. So minus pi is to be there, then pi minus pi will become 0. Here this will be x minus pi, you can say that, and here you can say that this is said to be the 2 pi minus pi. So 2 pi minus pi will become pi. So you will just obtain the graph like this. You will just obtain the graph like this. Means this graph will be passes through the point 2 pi comma 0, and you can just find out the equation of this line, because you know that the equation of line will be y equals to mx plus c, and in this type of graph always we have to take the slope 1. So this should be y equals to x plus c, and c is to be obtained because this particular line will passes through the point 2 pi comma 0. So when we have to put here x equals to 2 pi, then c equals to minus 2 pi. So definitely student, if we will just find out the answer, then we will obtain the equation of this particular part as x minus 2 pi. We will obtain the equation as x minus or 2 pi minus x, because the line has the negative slope here, because the slope of this line will be minus 1. So we will take the slope of this line as minus 1, so this will be minus x, and we will get this part. So we can take the equation of this line as y equals to x. Here this line will be written as 2 pi minus x. This will be written as 2 pi minus x. Similarly, you can take the graph like this, pi to 3 pi. So this is the 3 pi, you can say that. So this line is again said to be written as, this line has the you can say that positive slope, so x minus 2 pi. This will be again written as x minus 2 pi. So in this kind, student, you have to just make the graph, because here the graphical part is to be very important for each and every kind of trigonometric function, and you can make this graph like this here, and you can make this graph like this. So this type of graph you can make here. Here you can say that this is minus pi. Here the line will be obtained as y equals to minus x. Similarly, if you have to take this point, then this will be taken as minus 2 pi, and so on. Is it to be clear? So definitely student, you will just obtain the graph of cos inverse of cos x also. We have to keep in mind these equations. Basically, if we will keep in mind these equations, then again the similar kind of questions can be asked from this section also. So whenever any question is to be there, then you have to just find the particular value on this x-axis, and according to that we have to search the particular line, which line is to be get satisfied with the value, where we have to put the value of x, and you will get the answer. Is it to be clear? So in such type of graphs, we have to just keep in mind the concept, and according to that we have to just learn the particular concept. Is it to be clear? So definitely you can just say that the graph of this cos inverse of cos x will become like this, and it will be passes. This is the line, you can say that this is the line y equals to pi. This is the line y equals to pi, because the graph will be lie from 0 to pi always, because the cos inverse x will provide the answer from 0 to pi. Is it to be clear? So student, please pause the video to note the graph. These graphs are somewhere important. As per NCERT, this particular part is not said to be given any type of questions, but whenever in competition exams we have to give any exam, then definitely such kind of graph are to be very important, because we have to just find out the value of suppose again in this question we have to just find out the value of y equals to cos inverse of cos 12. Suppose again we have to take the similar kind of question. So definitely this particular value x equals to 12 we have to search. Then again you can say that at 4 pi, here pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, now it will become 4 pi. So here the 4 pi will be there, and basically the value will be nearest to the 4 pi and just less than the 4 pi. So according to this line you will get the answer of such type of questions. So these type of questions are to be generally solved by using the particular graph. Now student, the one more graph we will just discuss here, that should be related to the very first property, and the graph will be written as tan inverse of tan x. Is it to be clear? So the next graph we are taking here, graph of tan inverse of tan x. Now I think you know very well about the principal range of tan inverse, that should be open interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. So here you can say that x belongs to open interval minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. You can take the value of x. Now the thing is, we have to make the graph in a certain kind of interval. So basically whenever we have to draw the graph, then we will take y equals to fx, that should be written as tan inverse of tan x, and here you can just say that this is written as x. This is written as x when x is to be taken from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, but we have to not include this particular pi by 2 here, because in this principal value both the pi by 2 are not said to be get included. Is it to be clear? Next interval, suppose we have to take from pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. Suppose we have to take this interval. After that we have to take this interval 3 pi by 2 to 5 pi by 2, and so many intervals you can take, but we have to see the some symmetry, how the particular graph is to be drawn, and as per the time interval we have to draw the remaining part of the given function as well. So now in this particular graph we have to draw the x-axis and y-axis. First of all, x-axis and this is y-axis, and suppose this particular value is pi by 2 and this particular value is minus pi by 2. So we have to draw the graph between minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, and both the values are not get to be satisfied. And here again we are taking this is minus pi by 2 and here we are taking plus pi by 2. So in this given interval we can say that the graph will be represented as x, y equals to x. So y equals to x is the straight line which passes through the origin. So definitely you can make the straight line passes through the origin. So you can make the line like this. But very important thing, we have to make here some open interval. We have to make here some open interval because both the values are not to be included here. So we have to make the open interval. So this is the line y equals to x we can make, but you cannot consider this value pi by 2 and minus pi by 2 because here open interval is to be given. That's why we have to make the some open interval to represent this part. Is it to be clear? Now next interval pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2 we have to take. So next interval suppose we have to take, let pi by 2 to x is to be taken from 3 pi by 2. Then again we have to just make this interval in this given principal value. For this part we have to just add or subtract something. Is it to be clear? So I think there should be no problem in such kind of cases. So we can say that minus pi, suppose minus pi is to be there, then definitely it will be minus pi by 2. So we can write like this, pi by 2 minus pi, here x minus pi, and here you can say that 3 pi by 2 minus pi. We have to just subtract pi from each and every section. So when we have to add or subtract in a given inequality, then sign of inequality will not be changes. So now we will check the answer. So pi by 2 minus pi will become minus of pi by 2, and this is written as x minus pi, and this is written as 3 pi by 2 minus pi. So it will be written as pi by 2. So now this particular interval will be similar as the given principal value minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. But in this case the answer is to be obtained as not x, this is obtained as x minus pi. So definitely again we have to draw the graph. Then again this is said to be the pi, this is said to be the 3 pi by 2. So definitely the graph should be like this. Again the similar kind of graph we have to make, but again we have to take this open interval, means open circle we have to make due to the exclusion of these values minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. So we have to keep in mind this thing, we have to take the open interval, means these values are not said to be included here. Similarly this line you can say that this line is x minus pi. So y equals to x minus pi, and similarly you can make the some more lines. Suppose this is 2 pi, and here we can take the next part 5 pi by 2. So in this case again we have to make the graph, then graph should be like this, means in a symmetric way you can draw the graph. And in this case what should be the equation? X minus 2 pi. So definitely in this case it is to be written as x minus 2 pi, and you can take many more intervals. You can take many more intervals to draw the graph. Suppose this is minus pi and this is minus 3 pi by 2. So definitely if we have to make the graph, then open interval we have to make here, and just we have to draw the graph like this. Is it to be clear? And again we have to make the open interval. So such type of graph will be continues up to infinite in this positive part, or in this part up to negative infinite. Is it to be clear? Now again student, how we will just read this particular graph and why we are reading these type of graphs, and for this reason we have to again just see an example. Suppose we have to find the value of tan inverse of tan 5, then what should be the answer? So student, in such type of questions you can take any value of x here, no problem, because the tan has the except of pi by 2, this particular domain is to be taken as the tan function. So you can take any value except of pi by 2 here. So you can take here 5, and you can take here 10, 12, 15 like this. So many values you can take here. So we have to just search the particular 5. So definitely student, this particular pi you know very well, pi has the value 3.14, 2 pi. So 2 pi has the value definitely out of this 5. So this particular value will be 6.28. So definitely this particular 5 will lie between this pi and 2 pi. So you can search the pi and 2 pi. So pi and 2 pi, but there should be a confusion. From pi to 3 pi by 2 this graph will be available, but 3 pi by 2 to 2 pi we have to check this graph. So we have to again calculate this value 3 pi by 2. So we can say that 3 multiply with 1.57. So if we have to obtain this answer, then 7 3 is 21, this is 17, you can say that and you can say that this is 4.71. So after 3 pi by 2, this particular means you can just say that this particular 5 will be available in this section. So according to this line, because this 5 will satisfy with this graph here, so you can say that this particular 5 will be obtained as the answer as 5 minus 2 pi. So if we will give the answer of this question, then we will use this equation y equals to x minus 2 pi, and you can use the value of x equals to 5. So that answer will be obtained as 5 minus 2 pi. So in such type of questions, student, just we have to requirement of the graph. So we have to make the proper graph, and according to that we have to give the answers. Is it to be clear? So these are the three important graph we have discussed. Similarly, you can draw the graph of sec inverse of sec x, cosec inverse of cos x, as well as you can draw the graph of many more other functions also. So in this very first property, now we have to just know about these type of basic graphs, because these graphs are to be the very important for us, and we have to keep in mind the concept always of such type of questions. These questions are to be generally not given in this NCERT book, but sometime in competitive examination, student, these type of questions are to be generally asked, and where we will just get the confused. So if this topic is to be just taught in a very deep, so that these type of questions are to be generally solved, and you have to just know about these three graphs. You can do the practice of making of these graphs, then definitely after some time you will learn each and every graph, sine inverse of sine x, tan inverse of tan x, and cos inverse of cos x. Is it to be clear? So in this video, student, again the related thing related to the property first we have to discuss, and basically we have to discuss the basic type of graph of the section. In the property 1 we have to discuss sine inverse of sine x, cos inverse of cos x, tan inverse of tan x. So we have to keep in mind this graph, and you can just see these type of questions. Is it to be clear? Now student, the first property now is to be get finished, and now we will move to the next and further properties of this inverse trigonometric function from the next video. But before that, again I am saying we have to just consume one lecture for this type of graph, and in the notes part definitely the sine inverse of sine x, cos inverse of cos x graph is to be also available. So you can just take the graph from where, and how the particular graph is to be get obtained, we have to see this thing through this video, because for the competitive part purpose we have to just discuss this thing. Otherwise in NCERT such type of questions are to be not given. Is it to be clear? So the remaining property, student, we will just start from the next video. Till that, again a suitable time is to be for you to learn these type of graph, because anywhere in any kind of other examination except of board examination of NCERT, you have to just face such type of questions, then definitely you will get very comfortable with these type of questions if we have to know the graph. Is it to be clear? So thank you, student. We will meet with the some more remaining properties, more important properties of your class 12th NCERT mathematics inverse trigonometric functions we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.